Well, we're going to go ahead and start. Nathan's going to come in a little bit late, but we'll go ahead and start. So if we stand, we'll have our pledge and our prayer. Mr. Warner, if you'll lead us in, and then Tommy, would you please lead us in prayer?
And please join me in honoring our flag and our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, Lord, as we gather here tonight, Lord, I thank you for the city council members, Lord, the mayor and all the staff, Lord, and all the city employees, Lord, and the constituents of the city. Lord, as we do gather together, Lord, we pray you be in our midst, Lord, that you give us the vision, the insight, the oneness, Lord, to be able to follow your plan, Lord, as we try to make a better place for Beebe, for people to come, to live, to grow, and to shop. And Lord, so we ask you to bless this, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Alderman Duggar.
Here.
Alderman Stark.
Here.
Alderman Lindsey's will be late. Alderman McCormick.
Here.
Alderman Lightfoot.
Here.
Alderman McLean. Here. We have a quorum.
Yes. Chief Nick, do you want to go ahead and make your presentations?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Y'all do it.
That's fine.
We're going to have one of our firefighters retired from the department, Richie Mahoney. Richie served Beebe Fire Department for 23 years. And he also served the city of Beebe, the surrounding communities as well. Richie was an outstanding in vehicle extrication. You know, he worked at the body shop for years, and he just had an inside knowledge on extrication, and he was really good at that. Did a fantastic job. He also taught several classes on extrication for our fire department, which he excelled in doing that. He did a great job teaching those classes. Richie also ran medical calls for us. He was really a good medic. He understood a lot of the stuff that it takes to get people out of cars and also help them with the medical part. Richie also was a firefighter on our department. He was a pump operator, and he ran the water shuttle and tanker ops, which is a pretty good job. I want to present Richie, if you'd like to come up here. Richie with this clock. Thank you for your service. It's our hope that each time you take a look at the time and check the time, that you remember the times that you were with the Beebe Fire Department and all those times that you were a part of the Beebe Fire Department, and you always will be a part of our brotherhood. We appreciate what you've done for us, and just it's an honor to have been to serve with you on the fire department. We're going to miss your knowledge, definitely your experience, especially in education and other deals. And thank you for your service. I've just been outstanding. We also want to present you with your helmet. Take that one with you. Everybody on the fire department has a nickname, which is what Daddy-O. Well, we knew Richie had Daddy-O. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate what you've done.
Thank you. I thank the city of Beebe for allowing me to help the people of the city of Beebe. Thank you.
Chief, when I retired, I don't remember getting a nickname. Did you afraid to put it on there?
They said it behind your back.
Okay, we had, also, we want to present to the school some tasers. We've had, I believe when they left and the police department was established, we had said that we would allow them to have their equipment. And so they haven't had their tasers, and so we want to present them with tasers tonight, with Nappy for the school. And definitely appreciate the cooperation that we're seeing with the school and the city.
Are we testing those on Nappy? Make sure they work? Are we testing them on you? Not? Thought we-
Thank y'all very much, and we look forward to working with you at the school. Thank you. I think it's a very good deal. We have college police department, we have school police department, and the city, just more people, eyes and ears out there, so we appreciate you very much. Water department? Yeah.
Okay, in your packet were the financials for the water department. Any questions? Tommy and Carol are here.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the February 2024 water department financials. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hidden Valley Gravity Sewer Extension, Tommy Mayor, somebody? Thank you.
Okay, at our last meeting, we had discussed about the options of running the gravity flow sewer line out there for the future expansions, and the question got raised on, about pump station versus doing the, gravity flow sewer main. And, hopefully you had a chance to look over the paper that's in your packet there. Kyle put this together, so he's here to help navigate through this. And so, on that first page, it just talks about the how much you would have to invest, for the gravity flow versus, the pump station. So if we put the pumping stations in, basically it'll be a phase. We'll have to put a pump station in, then it'll have to be upgraded as the system, plans on out. And so that's gonna be a big cost, to Kendall and us as we take that over. And so, we would like to try to have a gravity flow sewer as far as the future goes. So, thinking about that, so we got together with Kendall, and he's here, and Kyle and the mayor and myself, we got together and we come up with a plan, and that's on the second page, a solution that we think that would maybe be best served in this scenario. And so basically what we are proposing in the phases 4 and 5, what we would do is, and that's 81 lots, we would assess a $1,500 per lot assessment fee to go towards putting in a gravity flow sewer main, and we would put that into an account, and then as that builds out at 80%, which would be like 64 lots, at that point, then Kendall would have to look about expanding, the next phase of the Hidden Valley. So we hope that the housing market continues going, and we get to that point. So there's gonna come a point to where, and of course, everything out there right now, except one little section right there, phase 4, he's already gonna put in a small pumping station. He's already got that plan to do that. And so that'll go in, and everything else is gravity flow out there. And so the next phase after that, a bigger station had to be put in. And then as it continues going, multiple pump stations have to be put in. And so that's a huge expense to him and then to us to maintain, throughout the life cycle of that. So what we come up with was to assess a fee for each lot that he sells. We'd put that in the escrow account. And And then at the 80% build out, then we would have some cash money available that we could then, look at, putting the gravity flow in. And so, and we don't know what the market's gonna hold, how much the material's gonna be, and all that stuff. And so it's kind of just a shot in the dark. But for us as a city not to make the millions of dollars of the capital improvement, and then Kendall as well, and then us having to make improvements on the backside of all of this, that we feel like this would be a good approach to be able to treat this. And so basically what we would do, we would start collecting the money as he sells the lots. We'd put that in the escrow account, and then at the 80% build out, then the city will have the option then of running the gravity flow sewer main. Then if we decide not to, we'd revert all the money back to Kendall, and then he could put in another pump station.
The time frame is what for that? Do we
Well,
think?
depending upon the market, I think,
Yeah.
we've got it as, for instance, if we, 5 years,
So we wouldn't look at it again until 5 years,
yes.
okay?
And of course, on top of that, we were imposing a little bit higher sewer rate for this area because it'd be sewer only for us. And so that would generate a little bit more revenue for that area out there.
For all of Hidden Valley,
Pardon?
for Hidden Valley?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be just it wouldn't be everything that's in town, or nothing in town to change, it'd be just those phase 4 and phase 5 that's going in.
So is that that $38?
Yes.
No, well, it's a $7 per month, if you look
Yeah.
down at the bottom.
Okay, I see that, okay.
That is the estimate for what, if you did decide to do the gravity, that would be the estimated based on today's numbers. You would still require, if you decide to do the gravity in 4 years, it's still gonna require a big outlay of cash, and you're gonna have to make up the debt service cost until the future phases build out enough to provide you enough revenue to fund that debt service. So you're talking about $294,000 a year in debt service. So in order to bridge that gap, you're probably in 4 to 5 years, if you decide to go gravity, you're still probably gonna need a rate increase citywide or come up with some other revenue to fund that gap until it builds out. Once it builds out enough, then your ratepayers would be paid back. That would help offlay any future rate increases to your in-city customers, but something's got to bridge the gap in the meantime. So that $7 charge that's an estimate citywide in a future date, but the current charge to the phase 4 and 5 would be $38. That's based on the fixed cost of the infrastructure divided by the full build-out number of lots. Is how you got to that.
But that's also based off of today's cost,
Correct.
the cost of, if we were putting this in today.
Correct.
So that number theoretically could change
Yes.
with either inflation
Right.
or could go down. It could
Yes.
go either way, with cost of materials came down.
Right.
Okay.
So what do you do until the 64 lots are sold? What are the 63 lot people, what do they do?
They're already sewered.
They're already sewered?
Yeah. He's going to build a pump station for phase 4. Phase 5 is already sewered.
Okay.
Well, and one other little caveat to this, for instance, if we decided that, no, we don't want to put a gravity flow and they was going to put pump stations in there, there would be at some point to where we would have to say, you can't build anymore, or we would have to upsize our lines just going over there.
How much of this is in the city now? Okay, so we're putting in a gravity flow feed or sewer line to service a projected number of homes, correct? Okay. How much of that is under contract right now to be built on?
81 lots are currently either in development or already, because I think phase 5 is pretty much already done.
It's finished.
right? So he's still got to do the infrastructure work on phase 4. The vast majority, Tommy, I think it's in an old letter, I think there's only like 8 lots that are in the city. It's divided by, you may know, it's divided by the gas. There's a handful of lots, less than 10, that are served by BB Water on
Right.
phase 4, I guess. But everything else is across the gas easement. It's all outside the city. It's all outside of BB's water service territory. So all of phase 4 mostly, and phase 5, as well as all 600 additional lots are outside the BB water service.
Okay, I guess that's what I'm asking. There's 600 additional lots that this line would provide sewer to.
Yes, sir.
Okay, outside that 600, like, the way I understand it is that we would need this line to service pretty much all the way to the backside of, I mean, that
Duggar
property
Road.
goes, I mean, however far out it goes, back to, what is that?
Duggar. Or to,
Swinging
Swing
Bridge?
Bridge Road,
Swing
yeah.
Bridge?
yeah.
Okay, so we would need that pipe theoretically to service sewer if that was ever to be developed. Or does anybody know if that property's anywhere close to being developed? Is it all farmland? Does the contractor own another huge jump? I mean, are we jumping the gun providing a sewer line for something that's not gonna be developed for another 20 years?
Well, this line is to serve the 600 lots in Hidden Valley. It would serve some limited amount further, but at some point, you run out of room because you're going uphill. So
Right.
at some point, you'd have to put a station. It
Okay.
would serve across Swinging Bridge, but we'd have to look at, depending on where it developed, you know, but you could pump to that manhole even if it was further away, or you could lay additional gravity. But at some point, the gravity line has to end because of the, you know,
Because the hill ends?
Yeah,
Right, and then at some point, something's gonna have to bring it to that hill to get it back down the gravity feed.
correct.
Okay.
You'll have to pump it, yeah.
All right,
It
I
will
just-
get you a lot closer to providing sewer further west you go, but, yeah, it's unknown how that's gonna develop, you know, right now.
Well, and also too, it would probably bring some opportunity around Matheny Lane and all that stuff to be able to have sewer over there to gravity flow down.
okay.
And so,
We would have to bore the interstate, so you would have a large sewer main going across the interstate that you could then extend north along the interstate, as Tommy's talking about, to serve that area along 31.
Well, everything that I looked at previous to the last meeting says pretty much a gravity line is the way to go. When you start looking at upkeep of, now, it's outside my realm of how we pay for it, or, I mean, I don't necessarily know what the best plan is, but everything that I looked at said the gravity feeder is more functional, serves longer, and is less costly over a period of time. So, I mean, I think the answer is a gravity feeder, is a gravity line. I do think that's the answer. I don't know if this is necessarily the best solution to pay for it, but I do know that I do believe that at some point, that if the city is expected to grow and we're expected to grow out that way, a gravity line makes the most sense. Then putting pumps up everywhere, replacing pumps, having bigger pumps.
Well,
We
this would be
we
a,
made some assumptions. I mean, you asked for a kind of a present value cost difference, so that's what's on sheet 1. I mean, you have to make a lot of assumptions,
Mhm.
but if you make those assumptions as outlined, there's about a $3 million present value opportunity cost for doing pumps instead of gravity. So
And is
gravity
that-
would
is
save
that-
you $3 million in 40 years.
Am I reading that correct, where that's over 40 years?
Correct.
Okay. And it's 6 million to do, the pump station, or I mean, the gravity flow? Am I right?
It's $4 million. So those are all present value, net present value costs. So it's everything included. So the pump station, there, the opportunity cost basically at the bottom line. If you divide it, if you subtract everything, it's $3.3 million of difference over the 40-year period. You save $3.3 million. with the gravity, but you have to upfront. The original construction cost will always be more with the gravity option than it would be with the pump station. So if you're interested in only spending less money up front, the pump station will always be the lower option. But if you look at it over a life cycle, it's where you get your money back.
You know, Nathan, this is kind of where I refer to you a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, like I said, I do think a gravity line's the way to go.
absolutely.
I don't know if this structure on now, and what we're looking at is holding a portion of money till 80% of it's billed out anyways, correct? So at the 80%, if we look at this and say, this is not a good option, we could return funds
Right.
and he could put in a pump station.
Correct.
So really, there's no harm in saying, hey, let's look at it this way.
I agree.
And then say, when we get to the 80% mark, I mean, I don't necessarily like that, but at the same time, we're gonna put, you gotta put something in motion for something to happen, or we just stand here and look at each other and nothing ever happens. So, I mean, I think to put this in motion till it's 80% built out, and then look at it when it's 80% built out and say, hey, how are we gonna bridge this gap? Because then we gotta figure out a way to bridge a gap.
Right, and that was this was Tommy's idea, and I think it's a good one, is that keeping, like basically having this nest egg saved over this 5-year period or whatever it is, you'll have almost a year's worth of debt service in play. So you've got a little bit of time to look at, okay, we don't need it right now. We don't have to pay these bond payments right now because we have this nest egg, but we've got to come up next year, we're gonna have to service this debt. So how do we do that? So you've got a little bit more time to come up with an alternate revenue source, if that's how you want to do it, or rate increase, or whatever it may be.
Well, that's the main problem I have with it, is the $7 increase citywide. You know, is
Well, that's not gonna happen unless the gravity flow happens. Is that right?
Correct.
So 4 or 5 years from now, we look at it, and when they get to a certain intersection out there, the decision has to be made.
Well, and not to
By the
mention,
end of year 5.
and what's the population gonna be in 5 years?
And
That $7
at that point,
might
then
be
it
$3.
could be a citywide increase at that point, or keep building pump stations.
And like I said, I mean, and that number is projected off the city now. I mean, I would assume that we would grow and, there'd be more individuals, obviously, the more individuals there are, spread the cost over, the lower that cost is.
And who pays for the pump stations? Is that us?
It would be the developer, and that's why it's always gonna be a pump station, because the developer is always gonna take the cheapest option if he's responsible for the full cost. So you'll always have pump stations going in if you put all the costs on the developers. So this is the way for the city, I guess, to incentivize gravity, because it saves you money over the long run. But in order to do that, you've got to have some revenue source to bridge the gap of the debt service. That's the problem. It's because it's not going to build out, in a year.
Well, it's something else to consider too, with Kendall and Nathan, and, there's a couple other people that's building. And so they put all this stuff in. Everything that's in Hidden Valley, that man right over there paid for it, and we didn't pay anything for it. And it's our assets. We own that now. And so that's a value there.
Right.
And so we want to try to promote, I think we do,
Yeah, you're right.
trying to promote growth.
Yeah, you're right.
No, like I said, everything that I've looked at and done research on, it says that the gravity feeder is, I mean, it makes sense.
Long term, you're right.
But long-term makes sense. Just getting to the point that it benefits everybody the way it's supposed to benefit, doesn't cost the people that it shouldn't cost, right? I mean, is the solution that we need to figure out. And I'm 100% okay with going with the 80% bill out for, and then 5 years, look at this and say, how do we bridge this gap? Because a lot can happen in 5 years. I mean, there might be a grant that's paying for all this stuff in 5. I mean, who knows? I'm just saying in 5 years, sitting here trying to predict the future on that.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
I'd rather
there
just
are-
leave it at 80% and then
Right.
say, hey, when this is at 80%, we'll figure it out, because who knows what's gonna
Yeah,
happen
but
in 5
80%
years.
is only $200,000. You're still talking about $6 million.
Yeah, 4 million is the estimated construction cost. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
4 million.
Okay, still 4 million. You're only talking about 200,000 being put up.
So what solution do you have?
I don't have a solution to that. Here's what I don't understand is, I get that, you know, I'm not trying to get into it with builders, but it seems to me like somebody's wanting us to pay for something so they don't have to pay for the pump station. Okay, so pay, how much does the pump station cost?
Kyle might know.
Well, I mean, we'd have to size I think I estimated it, I've got it in a breakdown, but I don't have it on here, but,
So,
maybe I do.
so this is what I'm
Probably
saying.
around $1 million.
Million? Okay. So he's gonna pay 200,000 where he would have been paying $1 million. So why can't the builder still pay the part of the pump station and then we catch the rest of it? You get what I'm saying? So the city don't get all that put on them when they would have never had to do this in the first place. That's what I'm not understanding about this deal.
Yeah, I get that. I think that saying that we would never have to do it, that we would never have to do it later, I mean, if we inherit the equipment, we might inherit equipment and at some point look at this
Yeah,
and
you're
say,
gonna,
we
you're
should
gonna
have
have to
put it.
maintain it. You're gonna have to upkeep. But
Well-
you don't spend $1 million right off the bat to put
What's
it in.
the reason
Agreed.
why, the reason why it's gonna develop as pump stations, because he's only gonna upfront a portion of money that he can easily get recouped, so it's gonna go in phases. So he's gonna build it in multiple phases.
And I
whereas-
understand that, but he's not recouping his money citywide raising my water bill across town.
No, but he's recouping it by selling lots, and he can't,
Okay.
he's not gonna invest the, whatever it costs to do the full build-out phase that he would originally, because he's not gonna sell 600 lots in a reasonable amount of time, so that's why it's gonna be piecemeal. So there's really no way to avoid, you know, multiple stations if you put it on the developer. So, I mean, that's fine if that's how you wanna do it, it's just that's what you're gonna get.
If you don't mind, I'd like to say something right quick. I get what you're saying, and I think you understand where we're coming from
Yep.
as a developer. What we're trying to do is the best for everyone as a whole. Because if I put in a $250,000 pump station to service phase or 2 phases, and then by the time I go to start the next phase or 2, I put in another pump station. And then the next phase or 2, I put in another pump station. In return, the city as a whole will have to pay to maintain, upkeep, and replace parts on all those pump stations.
No, I agree.
Therefore, the whole city's revenue, income is gonna go up, their bills are gonna go up. So it's gonna cost everyone as a whole if we go that route, and it's gonna continue costing them more and more each year until you finally break down and put in a gravity line to where those costs don't keep accruing every year. The other thing I would like to throw out there is, this line is not just for Hidden Valley. This Hidden Valley is gonna take up, and this is a uneducated guess, but 60 to 70% of the line, which means that gives you another 25–30% of growth around 67, 167, all through that part of the world that hasn't grown yet, and it's not going to grow until you get utilities that they can tie onto. And it's a double-edged sword there, and I know it is, but we're here trying to do the best for everybody we can.
Okay. So you started that by saying you're gonna spend $250,000 to put in a pump house. I thought they were $1 million.
It's $1 million if you put in one
The
big
full
enough to do
build-out.
all of it.
Okay.
But
So
I
it's
can-
$250,000 to do the
I can
little
do a
ones.
$250,000 pump station and put in 120 lots.
Which I would assume, which is what most builders do, because to recoup money.
I get that.
I mean, I either gotta
But
put
it's
in.
$250,000. How much is it gonna cost to maintain that? That's my whole thing, is how much does it cost
Well, that's what
to
we
maintain a
looked at.
$250,000
Well, that's
pump
what the-
station?
Yeah, that's what so this net present value calculation, as I said, it assumes 3 phases. Now, there may be more than that. but we assumed a 15 horse, then a 30, and then a 40 would be required for full build out. And then if you say that those pumps last 20 years, you're gonna typically get 15 to 20 years out of a submersible pump. So you have a replacement cost in there in that net present value calculation. So I didn't include I can give you the spreadsheet if you want to see the details, but if you do all that and you calculate the O&M cost, I said 20,000 annual O&M cost for the proposed pump stations, and then we had the replacement cost of the pumps in there at 20 years. And if you take that back to 40-year net present value, that's how you get that 3.3 million in savings. Of course, again, it's an assumption. There's a lot of guesstimates in there, but it just shows you that you have a net benefit to the whole city and to your ratepayers. But it takes a while for that life cycle to pay off. It's not going to be in your tenure as a city council member. It's going to be in your son's tenure as a city council member. But
Is that expense just on the pumps that you were expecting us to put in, or is that including the pumps that it goes through the city to be able to get to the treatment plant?
No, that just includes the replacement cost of the pumps to serve Hidden Valley.
So then you would have all the pumps going through the city you would have to deal with too, so you could almost
But
cover
they're
that
gonna,
expense.
they're gonna have to deal with that anyway, though, whether Hidden Valley develops or doesn't.
But not as quick if you put in the other line to take the pressure off of it, correct?
Well, probably after phase 5 build out, we're gonna have to look, you're probably gonna have to tie into a larger, you're not gonna be able to pump to the 8-inch anymore anyway. You'll have to go across the interstate, or they'll have to do a lot of improvements on 64 out that way.
I'd like to reiterate, for me, we come up with this plan, it would let us move forward and not spend any money, and then at the 80% build out, then we can say, yep, let's put all the stations in. I mean, we don't know. And so, but that would let us move forward and stick some money back, nest egg money, to help us make a better decision at that point. Because nobody knows what the market's gonna do,
Not to get off in the weeds, Kendall, but what are your builders, have you got any feedback on this sewer impact fee? Is that they're gonna hurt your sales, you think?
I haven't talked to everybody, but what few I have talked to, it hasn't bothered them.
Okay.
You mentioned grants. There are grants available. So USDA has a loan and grant program, especially for extending new sewer. The problem is that you don't have a low enough LMI, low to moderate income level. You have to meet you have to be above 50% to get any grant money. So you're probably not. It's good. Obviously, that it means you got a better tax base as well, but it also means you're not going to have a chance to get a lot of that grant money that's through USDA. But
we could give it another month to think about it. You guys gotta decide.
I'm good with this right here, the $38 rate increase through the phases 4 and 5.
Because that's not obligating us to nothing.
Right.
And, we're not putting out no money on it, and then 4 or 5 years down the road, when it gets to full 81 lots, then we can decide.
I agree.
So the new construction out there, if we're gonna add $38 a month to their bill, what are they looking at as far as total bill monthly?
Well, they would have sewer and garbage only. Their water bill would be coming from
Right.
Salco.
their sewer bill will be I think it was $16. It's based on 4,000 gallons. It would be $54. If I remember right, something like that.
What's it gonna hurt if we put this out for 30 more days? Just presented it and let everybody look at it and think about it and give us a little more time since tonight's the first time they've heard it. And then, is it gonna hurt anything? Or hurt anybody?
in any of those lots selling yet? And so the only thing that would hurt is the fee wouldn't be on the lot that's sold. Which-
That's correct. If
So, I mean,
you're losing
How many
money.
lots you
you're
sell?
losing, every time a lot sells, you lose money. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I don't know how many, I mean, but.
Well, they're not, right now, you're not selling any lots out there.
We've got 18 on contract, 16 on contract, I believe.
I understand,
And,
yeah, but we're still doing our annexation right now, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
No, I mean, I'm okay if people feel like we need to wait.
It's up to y'all, it's.
I think I need 30 days to study on it.
Also too, just not to change the subject on you guys, to bring you up to speed on our wastewater treatment plant. You know, we're building a new treatment plant to help all this. And to date, we've spent $6.8 million out there. And so we're probably maybe a third of the way through with construction out there. And so out of that, you know, we had the $11.5 million loan that we had. And then, of course, we got $5 million from the ARPA fund. And out of that, we have received almost $2 million of the ARPA money. So to date, we spent almost $7 million out there.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tommy.
We done the financials.
Yes. Ready to go on to planning and zoning? We're done with water.
Yeah. All right, let's do the planning and zoning minutes.
You had the February 6 minutes in your packet.
James?
Okay, I'll try to answer your questions if you have any questions on it.
Motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second, to accept the minutes of February 6 for planning and zoning. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Okay, before we go any further on that, into the preliminary plats or resolutions, I think there was some discussion. Was there anybody in the audience that needed to address the council or not?
I know that, I got something from, an individual about Jamie Lane and the water that's coming into the neighborhood.
I live at the very end of 112 Jamie Lane.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Justin Edwards.
Justin Edwards?
Yes, ma'am. And with this new development, the water flow is, it's increased tremendously. It got to my back porch the other night and took some stuff that's 10 feet from my back door. It's never done that before. And there's been multiple storms that's been way worse than the one last week or a couple weeks ago. And that water it flowed. I was gonna build a shop, and I'm not gonna be able to build a shop now where I want to unless something happens. I sent a video of the rain that right before I got here tonight, and that ditch is already to the max. And I know we didn't get very much rain, a significant amount to already max the load right now. I would like for a water engineer or someone to come look at the water flow, and because it's been altered a couple of times, and I think from these new developments, it's all running to one ditch, not a creek. And I know it's labeled on a map that it's a creek, but if you look at the video that I sent and all that, you can see that it's not a creek, and it's going into my yard. There's 3 acres for sale right beside my house that trees are falling over in the middle of it because it's swampland, I think a solution could be easily to turn that into a pond. I'd be willing to buy that land to do that myself, depending on the price and things like that. But I think something needs to be done quickly, because those storms are obviously getting worse.
Is that water coming from,
There's a direct pipe, like a huge pipe at the very end of Jamie Lane, you can see from the new development, that's feeding into my neighbor's ditch. They came, I thought this was already on the agenda tonight, and my neighbor she said that it was, she addressed it, but it wasn't, went at one meeting, but it wasn't on the agenda, and she said it was supposed to be on tonight, she thought.
Are you aware, Kendall, of what he's talking about tonight?
No, sir, I'm not. Where's 110 Jamie Lane?
112 Jamie Lane, it's where the sewer, the drainage pipe runs right into the dead-end road. It's behind the new park, the pond.
If I pull up 112 Jamie Lane, it's like the first house on the right.
Yes, sir.
Pull onto Jamie Lane,
Yes, sir.
that's yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're right there by Mississippi Street and Jamie Lane.
Yes, sir.
Which would be coming from the city's ground right there. And I'm sure development up above, that water all runs downhill. But he's talking about right there at the corner of Jamie Lane and Mississippi
Okay,
Street.
we'll see, we haven't seen that
Not
yet.
directly on the corner, I'm talking about
Up just a little bit.
up just a little
First
bit,
house on the
and you
right.
can follow that all the way to that new development.
Okay. Well, then we'll have to go out, we'll take a look at that then. We haven't seen that, or we haven't experienced it before, right?
Not, you're talking about the flooding?
Yeah.
No, nowhere near like that,
Okay.
no, sir.
Okay. All right, well, we'll look at that. Kyle, I'll get with you and we'll look at that. It may be that going down through there, we may have to clean that up. We'll see how to get the flow on down. And that's the water that's going back and going down and going through K-Mac, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I
We'll
think
look
that
at
was
it.
all prior to the,
You know,
that was
it-
all prior to the ordinance, the stormwater ordinance.
Yes.
Prior to it taking effect, so.
Yes. I understand. But also, you know, we've also cleared up that property back there, so we'll look at it.
What about the ladies here at the last council meeting on Jamie Lane?
I haven't had any communications, and I think Kendall has communicated with them. I
You're
thought
talking
that's
about
what
the
we were
people
talking about for a minute.
Adjoining the property of Hidden
Yes, sir.
Valley. So we've visited with them, I've been out and looked at their site and, got to visit with them. We've all come to an agreement that they want us to come onto their property and cut a swell that ties our property through their property over to the city's property, to be able to catch all the water in that area and get it directed towards that, I guess it goes towards that pond or something over there. But anyway, get it directed out of there, they're all in agreement with it, they're all on board. We've had the engineers do a legal description of it. It's at the lawyer's office right now, getting a contract drawn up for them to sign and for us to sign, allowing us to be able to go onto their property and do such as soon as it dries out. It is very wet down there, and we're gonna have to let Mother Nature work with us a little bit before we can get out there, and they understand that at this time.
It's the same water, Kendall? Same water?
The same water as where?
112 or 110?
Some of it would be, but a lot of it not.
Okay.
Since we're on last month's business now with the water, what about the other lady down off of, South Fair?
Cal Pratt?
No,
No,
no, the one that down there in.
Angel Circle.
Huh?
Angel Circle, 122 Angel Circle.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, Matt.
We were supposed to get with Rouse Coleman to.
That's
talk to
right.
him.
Yeah, I gave them a call, and I don't know that he's followed up, but I will do that again.
No, she-
But she works with me and she's asked me every day.
It's 122, correct?
Yeah, I would be lying, yeah. Yeah, she
Okay.
works at Remington, so I'm getting
Okay.
asked every day about it.
And, James, have you talked to anybody out there?
Just talk to anybody out there. We'll have to talk to Rouse Coleman about it.
Well, we need to make contact with them, and we need to see if they get that taken care of. Roush Coleman, between that, and they have an understanding that we have to get that corrected in order to continue certificate of occupancies.
Is that home finished? The one next to
Huh?
her? Is the home next to her finished?
Yep, she said that she's having just as much problem. She was
Okay.
gonna come to the council. Matter of fact, I thought she was coming tonight, because she told me she was going to. But. Because I told her, I kinda explained to her the backstory on the whole deal, and how we had already put a moratorium against building houses out there. And I said, look, if it's continuing to do it, we're just gonna have to do it again. That's all there is to it. Because I mean,
Well, this
everybody was under the agreement. What?
Where she's at, this isn't that problem.
Oh, it isn't?
No, she is upstream of that, and what happened, her house is built lower than the curb.
Her house was built too low in the beginning, or no?
Yeah, all the original 19 houses that were in that subdivision,
Yeah.
or, 19 houses, every one of them's below the curb.
Yep.
Well, Roush, they build their pads at 12 inches above the curb, then they build on top of that. So they're 16 inches or whatever above curb. Well, that pad is gonna push dirt on your neighbors if your house is lower, and it's just part of it. But they can cut a swell between the two lots and get rid of most of that.
Okay.
But the problem is that house is probably 18 inches taller than
And that's
the
what
neighbor.
she said.
Yeah.
Yep, so her neighbors, all her neighbor stuff now comes on to her, where they
Yeah.
built the new house.
Yeah, it will, because that community's started out, all the houses built below the curve, really. But, I have a point of contact there, and I'll touch base with him in the morning, and I'll holler at you in the morning on that.
Appreciate it.
All right.
What's next?
I guess we're back on the agenda.
Okay, so we have a preliminary plat for South Fork West. James?
So, on the board here, South Fork West, this is the second, version of this. This version has, hammerhead driveways, retail track lots, so that there's better, access for emergency vehicles. In case of fire or something in the back lots.
All approved for planning and zoning?
Yes. This version was approved by planning and zoning.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion, second to approve the preliminary plat for South Fork West. All those in favor? Any opposed? We have a resolution. Mike, you want
Correct.
to talk about it?
Nope.
We're not going to do it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready to do it.
Okay.
Everybody said it, I'm
Sorry.
ready to do it.
All right, we have a resolution that was presented to you in your packet, so. Resolution 2022-02. How do you want me to proceed? Sorry.
This is the more or less contract that Randy Grice had written up for us for these houses that we're going to renovate instead of condemn. Okay, so I think Mr. Carlson's met all the requirements that you requested. He signed everything.
He signed to meet the requirements of this
Yes.
agreement.
Yes, and I think he had a 1-year permit.
Motion to read the resolution by title only.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to read Resolution 2024-02 by title only. All those in favor? Any opposed? Resolution number 2024-02, a resolution authorizing the mayor and the city clerk treasurer to enter into an agreement to rehabilitate property for certain real property located at 310 West Illinois Street in the city of Beebe, Arkansas, and for other purposes. I need a motion to adopt the ordinance, the resolution as read.
So moved. Second.
Alderman Duggar,
Yes.
Alderman Stark,
Yes.
Alderman Lindsay,
Yes.
Alderman McCormick,
Yes.
Alderman Lightfoot,
Yes.
Alderman Stark. I'm sorry, Alderman McLean.
Yes.
Well, I got to vote twice.
Sorry, that passes. Last on the P and Z is the P and Z Commission compensation.
Yeah, this is something that has been requested of me to look at, and I did look at it, and I agreed to the fact that the planning and zoning members spend a lot of time, they make a lot of difficult decisions, and that we should compensate them something for their work. I'm going to agree to that. I'm going to say that I've probably never loved my job as much as I do right now. I've never seen the city working together in so much cooperation between all the departments. Just today, we had the Parks Department, we had the Street Department, and they were all working together out at the areas and placing sod around at the park, making improvements at the park. We see the police department and the fire department working together, all our internal departments working together, helping each other. Carol's office, it's a big job. We see the police and the courts working together. I don't see council members that's on Facebook slamming each other or slamming the city or city employees slamming the council or anything anymore. It's an enjoyment to work and make improvements to the city. And so, and I believe that the planning and zoning members are just as important. I think we was requesting, what was it, James? $100 a meeting? To pay them for compensation for their work. At least they can go out and eat and give them something for their compensation. And, so,
Are you wanting that in the form of a motion?
It'll
Can
have to be.
we talk about it for just a second? Can we make it, can we update that to where it has to be, they have to be present?
yes, that's correct.
So,
Yes, we
Long
have
as they're-
that. It's attended meetings.
okay, I'm good with that.
And I also have visited with James and the mayor about this, and my office, they will be paid quarterly instead of monthly, because it's only $100. They will be paid quarterly, and James will provide that information to me at the end of each quarter.
Okay.
Have you written up the way that'll read?
Sure.
Huh?
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to pay the P and Z commissioners $100 a month. They must be present at the meeting, and they will be paid on a quarterly basis.
So
Second.
moved.
You said month, and then a minute ago we said per meeting. So if they have a special meeting, they're not gonna get paid.
They don't,
We
it's
don't really have
regular
it.
meetings, I think is what we had agreed
Yeah.
to. And
So that
if
would
there's
be-
a special meeting,
Wait a
I have no,
I would say that we could allow for a special meeting.
Okay.
but how many a year do we have, the special meetings? I haven't,
With growth being what it is, it could
I don't,
increase.
With $100 a meeting, it might increase, that's what I'm thinking. No, I think we put it on there $100 a month to attend the meeting.
okay. All right.
Mike, what are other municipalities doing with their P and Z pay?
Sir,
Other municipalities, what are they doing with P and Z pay? Do you know that?
I didn't check with what they do.
Okay.
I know they do various things, but I don't know what their pay is.
Okay.
I didn't know we got paid per meeting.
Sir?
I said, I didn't know we got paid per meeting.
You all don't.
Oh,
Don't even go there.
No, because my phone rings a lot.
You want special meetings? Per month?
3 this month.
Okay, so the motion will be to pay $100 a month. They must attend the meeting, and they will be paid on a quarterly basis.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. I'm going to call the roll. Alderman Duggar,
Yes.
Alderman Stark,
Yes.
Alderman Lindsay,
Yes.
Alderman McCormick,
yes.
Alderman Lightfoot,
Yes.
Alderman McLean.
Yes,
You know, another thing I was talking a while ago when I said that about departments, and I meant water department also. Tommy's been out there and spent several days, and he's running water, him and his guys are running water around the pond in 2 RV hookups, and, you know, that's not part of his job, but they're doing it. And so I see lots and lots of communications and working together. You know, in addition to that, I appreciate the discretion that you all allow me to run the day-to-day activities. And I see that years ago, I was asked, you know, what do we need to do? And I said, build houses. We need to build houses in order for people to build our demographics that will build our commercial properties. And now we're seeing that. We've reached that point. Now we are too are investing in commercial properties for this. And so we're into the changing of times that none of us have seen before. And it's hard for us to make changes. It's hard for me to say, well, the things that I thought I would never do, I'm now doing. And I think that goes along with our construction in our homes. I know that, and I think tonight I had maybe I sent an email to you all plats, and there's a plat that's out on Duggar Road, and there's a plat that Nathan has submitted over here to BIDC property, and that's over 1,000 homes right there for the city. And today I spent some time on the phone with the Municipal League planner and talking about smaller lots, 50-foot lots, and I said, you know, I was against that, but I know that we have to change and we have to adapt. And he said today that that's the times. People are going to 50-foot lots. They call them affordable homes. And I know we all want to see Hidden Valley homes, and they're doing a good job with that. And we're seeing some R4 homes, and people are doing a good job with that. But the affordable homes will be, when I talk to the planner at Municipal League, it's called the PDD, which we have in our zoning regulations, Plan Development District. And this is a floating zone that where you can do things that are not normal to our zoning code. And like out on Duggar Road, there's going to be, in that preliminary plat, and it's going to be submitted as a PDD, there's 50-foot lots, but there's 300 homes, there's townhouses, there's apartments, so it's going to be a variety of things. But when it's submitted as a PDD, then it's on an individual basis of each submittal. So that submittal will go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they will look at it, and they will look at it how it meets and how it works with the surrounding area. So there may be areas at times that we don't approve, and there may be areas that we approve. So, you know, for out on Duggar Road, I really like to see that plan, and I hope they move forward with it into a PDD. And Nathan, you've talked about affordable homes and smaller lots, and you're going to do a PDD over on the BIDC property, and then that surrounding area, I think that's something that we could call affordable home area over there and possibly look at. And I know that I've talked about, I wasn't going to be for it, and no, I'm wrong. We have to adapt, and we have to change for the betterment of the city. We have to do things that we normally would not do ourselves or like ourselves, but I think that we have to adapt to those changes. In those, over there, you know, I've said we probably want to see alleyways, and we want to see streets front and rear yard. Well, that's not called affordable homes. That's an upscale retirement, and I think that, I hope we see some of those. But for the affordable home districts where there's a 50-foot lot and a 5-foot side yard, those are smaller lots. We're gonna have to strengthen our zoning codes a little bit. In each one of those, when it's submitted to the planning and zoning, that they can say, in this particular PDD, they cannot have RVs parked in the yard. They can't have accessory cars parked in the yard. They cannot have boats parked in the yard. You know, they're gonna have garages likely, but if they have an ATV or, you know, that goes in the garage. So we have to strengthen our codes just a little bit, and it's more work on code enforcement, and we're gonna have to do that and allow a few changes. So things that I think we need to adapt to change here in order for our city to continue to grow, in order for us to continue to be commercial-based businesses. Another thing is, between now and the next meeting, I'm gonna say that we're probably gonna see a private club license application. And if we are going to see restaurants like Purple Onion or Firestone or any of the larger ones, we're gonna have to adapt to change. And I'm for it. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm for it. And we all go to Chili's, we all go to Colton's, we all go to, look at Cersei, they just got a new Texas Roadhouse. Why do they get that? Because they changed. And they can have a private club license. And we need to adapt to change here. And so I hope that we have a lot of good developers, and they're wanting to bring things to Beebe, and I think we have to work with them and allow them to do this. And so that's kind of where I hope we all can adapt and do what's best for the city. I know that the development that we're doing on the commercial, I hope to see some type of restaurant there. But I know there's some interest, and I can't say what that is at this point, but there's interest in Beebe in a lot of commercial areas. I think, James, we've got an application. We have an application for a Murphy's? Yes. We do, out in front of Walmart.
2024 will be a banner year for growth.
Yeah, and what else have you seen that you can, what else is there?
The old Belmar Motel site's gonna get a tidal wave car wash.
That's right, they're gonna take that motel down and put a tidal wave car wash there.
And depending on how soon we can get the new ballpark, fixed and built, I think that's probably gonna bring a new motel before it's over with.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna see some things, and so, I just want you, I'm open to, all types of plans and adapt to changing times.
Okay.
What?
I got my financials.
Hmm?
My financials.
Yeah. Carol's making us money.
Not if you talk to our department heads. I don't let them spend anything. Okay, we got financials for the city for the month of February.
Motion to approve. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the financials for the city of Beebe for February 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That's all I got.
And the next thing we want to talk about is the parks, and I'm going to let Harley talk about the parks, and Kyle talk about the parks.
Okay, you should each have a map of the new Parks and Recreation property. The property lines are outlined in red, so it's only that center section that we own. Initially, we had talked about doing baseball fields, but with the size of full-size baseball fields, we were only able to fit 4 in a clover shape, with one landing somewhere outside of that. So we kind of went back and forth and looked at a few different designs, and it seemed better to do softball fields on that property, so they can all be centrally located with concessions and restrooms in the center, and keep the parking near the fields. That way there's not a parking lot or a ball field right on the edge of residential property. I don't think most people would want that right in their backyard late at night. So access off Evans Lane and down the road between our property and Bull Creek Outdoors would give 2 entrances and exits to those ball fields. We've got 3-phase coming with Casey's down Evans Lane. So by the time we start building these ball fields, we'll have adequate electricity out there. And we've began adding water around, the mayor mentioned that earlier, around the first pond that we have. Arkansas Game and Fish met us out there the other day, and originally they thought that the second pond would not be suited for a family and community fishing pond because it was so close to the one that we already have. But they've decided that it is far enough away, they think that we can use both of them for that. And that gives space closer to Hidden Valley for other things like walking trails, potential biking paths, or some sort of other quiet recreation in a green space. If you come into the property off of Evans Lane, straight through the middle of the star or pentagonal shape, there's a tree line. So there should be trees that are able to be saved in the center of that, giving shade through your dugouts and around your concession area, which I think will appeal to people coming in for ball.
Okay. I want to add on something to what you said. You said softball fields, but the way it's ran nowadays is these are perfect softball fields that can be played from 8U all the way up to 14U because of how big they are. But they can also double. All you have to do is buy removable pitching mounds, and every one of these could be used for the lower age kids for somebody to host a baseball tournament as well. So not only do you get 5 softball fields that could hold everybody, but you also get baseball fields. So I actually talked to a couple of directors, tournament directors, and they said that pretty much everybody is either going to turf, which they play on both softball and baseball, or they go in all dirt. Everybody's gotten rid of their grass because they want to be able to host both kinds of tournaments on both weekends. One weekend they want to be able to host softball, one weekend they want to be able to host baseball. So this was the smart idea, I believe. And, I kind of bounced it, when we heard about this, I kind of bounced it with Jacob, called him, and, and the mayor as well, talking about the other park. We've kind of converted them to softball fields, which is great, but they could easily be converted back by adding bases and stuff, which wouldn't take a lot of money to get them back to being a full-size and get a couple of full-size baseball fields as well. And I believe with this, our city will be able to host ginormous baseball and softball tournaments. You want a hotel to come in, that right there is what's going to get it. And they're going to see that we're bringing in 500 extra people a weekend, and the restaurants will follow right after. Because a lot of people that I talk to loves our location because a lot of ball fields there's no ball fields you go and you get right off the interstate and you're at the park. You always got to drive. You go somewhere and you got to drive through their city, you got to go find the park. We're right off the interstate. Get off the interstate, you would be at the ball fields, both sets. So, I mean, it actually is a perfect storm, and park directors are really hoping that the citizens move forward with this, and it's good for everybody. So, I love it.
The design's good too. We're bringing traffic in. It's where you can enter and exit. I mean, there's some ballparks that there's one way in, there's one way out, and it's a nightmare when, the 10 o'clock game starts and the 9 o'clock game finished. getting in and out of the ballpark. So the design of the ballpark, the traffic being having an inlet and an outlet, I mean, it's, there's plenty of room for parking, plenty of room if you had to grow parking, and then there's plenty of room to still do some other things with. I mean, that looks like a no-brainer to me.
So by the April meeting, we should have renderings that are more detailed of the design, but having to change from the larger fields down to softball.
We started the rendering process too early, so we had gone down the baseball path and we were trying to, and we were just gonna put a field off by itself. So that was my fault for not getting it cleared through Harley before we started the rendering, but we'll have it for next meeting.
Will that, could we also get something of what the old park would look like if we expanded everything back out to baseball fields and things like that? I mean, I don't think it would be too difficult just to, I mean, heck, you probably just pull up an old picture of the ballpark. And I just think that there's going to be a lot of individuals that look at this and say, that's great, but what about my 13-year-old boy who plays baseball? So when we take this to the citizens, I want to be able to show them, yeah, that's great, because that field's going to now be a full-grown field. And that's going to be, we're going to have these big baseball fields across the roads. I just think it's important because there's going to be people that are upset because they're going to think that all we're putting in is small fields. So when we show them this, I'd like to be able to show them the
You can do
other part as
that.
well.
Yeah, he can take in the fields that are there now and show them as original.
And
Yeah, you can do
I
that.
think Jason's got some good ideas. You might want to call him and let him kind of go over, because we've all talked to him about it, kind of what our vision is for it. And I think he would be able to, hey, we want some older baseball fields, then middle baseball fields, and then obviously this place right here could do all the little ones. Yeah. Just by adding in a movable picture of it.
Now,
The way that this is set up also, there's not multiple entrances into it. I mean, traffic-wise, there are, but it's contained centrally. So you're not gonna have to worry about your kids crossing the road and walking a long ways out of sight to get to the bathroom, to go grab a snack or whatever.
so while we're talking about parks, let's just give them the date. We went out for bids on the splash pad and it came in high and it was over budget. And we're going back out for bids and that's gonna be the 6th.
Thursday the 4th.
Okay. And we believe this time they're gonna come in where they should be. And that's more communications. We separated the bids this time too from the pavilion and the splash pad. And I talked to Nathan and everybody's great. When I call y'all, Nathan said, yeah, he could help and we could get us a price on the pavilion separate and do the work. And so we think we can cut costs and we think we're gonna come in just right about what we projected. And Harley and Kyle have been working back and forth on that. And anybody have any questions? Good?
No, I'm excited to see it.
All right, thank you.
Is that it? Motion to adjourn?
Second.